Welcome to the EventConnection, where we explore the stories, trends, and unforgettable moments that are shaping our industry. We'll uncover the human side of events and celebrate the power of engagement and connection, all while having a little fun. This podcast is produced by PC Nametag.
Welcome back to the EventConnection. I'm here with Meaghan today. It's been a while since we've done an episode, just the two of us. So we're excited because today we have a fun topic, I think. We both have been to a couple events in the last couple months, and we want to talk about all the cool things that we've been seeing at these events, different engagement strategies, different activations, a lot of fun stuff. So I think we're going to have a fun conversation today. But one of the main, I think, themes of what we've been seeing and what will carry us into 2026 and the different, strategies and trends for 2026 is using AI as a tool to help people engage with each other, but not relying on it too much for a content generator. I think we're seeing a lot of events lean into really using genuine human connections and just trying to get people to have those moments with each other and with vendors and with speakers and different surprises throughout the event. And that's what we want to lean into. So I think that's really cool. And another theme that we were just talking about this before we started recording is with budgets. There's a lot of shifts happening with different event budgets, and companies who maybe were able to sponsor 5 different events last year might only be able to sponsor 3 events in 2026, or people who maybe attend a lot of events, maybe their company can only send them to 2 events when they normally go to, 6 or 7 events. So how do you make your event stand out so much that if they have to narrow it down to 2 events, that they're going to pick yours as one of the events that they go to? So I think it's more important than it's ever really been. So we're going to talk a lot about that. And one of the things that I wanted to talk about, I know Meaghan and I both have experience with seeing Dalia Alcazar speak. And I went to Inbound recently and went to her session. And one of the things that she talks about a lot is creating eyes light up moments. Also, she always says this. She's not the one who originated this concept. It was someone named Wes Cow. So I just want to mention that because she always mentions it. But basically, creating moments that it's hard to measure it. It's like, it's not really a metric that you can measure and write down on a piece of paper, but you can see it when your attendees are really excited about something and their eyes light up. And one of the quotes from the presentation that I went to of hers that I really liked and I think kind of sets the tone for everything we'll talk about today is that events aren't content dumps, they're energy transfers. So something I think that we can all kind of live by and remember. Does that resonate with you?
Oh, definitely. I know when I think about the different events that I've been to, I think about how I felt and the people that I met there. So I think a lot of the things that we're going to talk about today are real activations and activities and agenda items that we saw at events in 2025. And a lot of these I think you can do on pretty much any budget. You might just have to get a little bit creative. So I'm excited to hear what you have to say. I haven't heard a lot of your ideas. So I'm going to have real, genuine reactions to these, which is good because, maybe this is how your attendees might react to it. So if I'm not anticipating it, I can get my real, genuine reaction to you as the event planner.
Yeah, absolutely. We have some pretty fun ideas. One of the things that Dalia actually talked about that I thought was such a fun idea. So I've been to a lot of events recently, including Inbound, and I feel like you've been to Content Marketing World. They probably do something like this too, where they create like Meetup Spaces. So it's, at a specific time, if you're like an entrepreneur, we're all going to meet in this section so you can kind of network, which is like, a great idea. And sometimes that works really well, but sometimes it is hard for like more introverted people to join in the fun. That might be overwhelming for them. If they see like 100 people meeting at the same time, you might feel kind of like an outcast and not feel like you can really approach people. And so one of the things that Inbound actually started doing is brain dates. So you can ahead of time go in and say, like, I want to talk to a small group about this specific topic. Like, I want to talk about how to measure attendee engagement, and they'll based on, the different people who say that they're interested in that topic, they'll like group 2 to 5 people together, and you can actually go meet with each other. They have like a little lounge area. It's like quiet. It's kind of away from all the chaos of the rest of the event. And I really like the idea of that. Granted, I didn't actually participate in that. So,
there's always next year, Brooke.
I know, like that's on me. That's my bad. But I really like the idea of that, of like meeting in smaller groups and really finding people who are going through like the exact same struggle. And one of the things that Dahlia talked about too was maybe rebranding like a meetup space to be something a little bit more fun and engaging. So some of the ideas were calling them like a WTF zone or like a venting zone, or doing like confessionals. Like maybe it's like there's 10 people who are just listening to you vent, and like you can just kind of let it out.
Free therapy.
Yeah,
I love
like
it.
Free therapy. I think it's something that we all kind of need, especially when it's like a work-related event. And, most of us are, especially in event planning and marketing, I think have our own unique challenges, but everyone, else in marketing probably really empathizes with that. So
I feel that. I think we so often talk about all the things that are going right and all the awesome things, but it makes you feel a little bit alone if you're like, no one's talking about the things that I'm struggling with. Am I the only one? Are other people experiencing this? So I think that would be a great way to give people a platform to talk about those things. And they may be things they're struggling with, or just things they're really excited about for 2026.
Yeah. Exactly. And I think like that lends itself to much stronger connections than just being like, okay, go network, go find some people to chat to and make connections. I feel like we kind of commiserate like just as a species, where if you're both experiencing the same struggle, you're going to create like a much stronger connection. So I think that's like such a fun idea.
I kind of like the pre-made groups too. It's almost like, okay, the group's made for me. I'm not, going up to this group and being like, hey, can I jump in?
Right.
Because for some people that's hard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like, can we talk about this thing? Yeah. You already know, like they're experiencing this exact same struggle. Yeah, I thought that was such a fun idea. Another thing that Dahlia talked about was just surprising. So I think that goes along with like the eyes light up moments, is having moments of genuine surprise, whether it's like a surprise guest or like a session that pops up, or like a little, like maybe you do a yoga session that's not necessarily on the schedule, but like if you pass by, it's just like, come on over. We're doing like a little yoga sesh or something, like things that people aren't really expecting, aren't on the agenda necessarily. Inbound does a lot of like kind of food oriented surprises too. Like they, this past year they had like a little pop-up matcha and like taro bar, which also kind of lends itself to people sharing stuff on social media too. Cause they did, it was lattes too. So you could actually get like latte art, and it was whatever company sponsored the like matcha taro latte bar, their logo would be printed on top. And like, I saw so many people taking
That's
pictures
so memorable. And
Yeah.
it's fun because you get to consume the item.
It's like more people will go because I think like you don't see matcha and taro as often. And then like people are going to be sharing it more because it's like, oh, they did this little art thing. How cool is this? And it gets more brand exposure for the person who actually sponsored that. So I thought that was such a fun idea. They do a lot of like, food related ones where middle of the day, it's like, oh, here's coffee cake. Here's, another coffee bar. There's always like coffee available.
That's cool. I don't think they did that a couple years ago, so that must be a little bit newer. I didn't go to Inbound this year, maybe next year, but it's just nice to have a little tasting of something to perk you up throughout the day, especially if you've been in, a few sessions in a row. It's like, I just need a little brain break.
For sure. And it's nice when it's a surprise. I think you could just send a little notification in the app. Like sometimes that pops up too. Something too, like a vendor actually did at Inbound that I thought was really interesting was, and I wish I could remember the vendor name, but they had every day at 1 or from 1 to 3, they had the author of Courageous Marketing at their booth, like signing copies of his book. So that was a really fun thing too. Like nobody really expected that. And it was a fun, the first day people kind of saw, and they came back the second day, like during that time period to meet him. And because it was a pretty popular book, actually, Nicole, our boss, she was reading it at the time, like that we went to Inbound, and she's like, no way. Like he's actually going to get
over there.
Yeah. So we both got like signed books by the author. But like, that's such a fun thing and a unique way to get people to come to your booth.
And they had that multiple times, so
yeah,
that
it was
if you
every
missed
day.
it, you could come
so
back.
if you missed it, it was like every day that he was there for the same time period. So that was nice too. Like if you missed it, you could still, like nobody really missed out if they really wanted to do it.
At Content Marketing World, they actually have a little marketing, bookstore pop-up that happens.
Awesome.
So if you want to come and shop books and meet authors, you can do that there.
That's such a
And
good idea.
This audience loves reading. They love learning. So that went over really well with the attendees.
Yeah, absolutely. Another example, and I think this was the year that you went to Inbound, but it made me think of that with like surprise guests. This wasn't necessarily that, but I know when we went, Hassan Minhaj was supposed to be like the after hours entertainment comedian. And he had to cancel last minute. I think like the day or 2 days before they announced that he canceled, and everyone was kind of bummed about it. But then they announced like the day of, like, oh, John Mulaney is going to do it instead. And I was like, oh my God, I love John Mulaney. So that like, if something, someone cancels, obviously not every event has the budget to bring in someone like John Mulaney. But, waiting until you have like a confirmed replacement or something exciting so that people don't feel as bummed out about the cancellation is kind of like, but we have this other thing that we're going to do instead. Like having the flexibility to be able to do stuff like that. I think it was definitely one of the highlights of my experience that year at Inbound. So, I think that's...
And it might redirect some, bummer feelings like, oh, we're missing out on that. It's like, okay, let's redirect that into excitement for something adjacent to that.
Yeah, for sure. Or like if someone has to, cancel a session, maybe you take someone who had a really popular session, but maybe it like booked out. And then you're like, oh, but we're actually going to have a second session for this, like really, really good session from yesterday. So if you missed that, make sure you get on that. Like it doesn't.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, same. This is definitely, again, especially at Inbound, there are sessions where they get booked up before I even get a chance to like reserve a seat. So anything like that is, I think, much appreciated by people. Something else that I learned about was, I think this was at a event called Montreal something or another. And it's like a finance event. And they did like a soup cooking class with like a professional chef. And then the soup that they cooked was actually donated to like a local soup kitchen. Another fun idea.
That's great. You learn a new skill and you help out with someone in need. So
yeah, exactly. But another thing too that I think it was mentioned, Dahlia mentioned, and I think I keep seeing people come back to this when I watch content about event planning, is kind of shifting the perspective of having a quote unquote prospectus. And I think we've talked about it in previous episodes too. Dahlia was like, I hate the word prospectus, which I've heard kind of that theme going on. Is like, it's like corporate, it's old fashioned. And most often, like if you have a prospectus with like 5 different tiers, like your bronze, your silver, your platinum, whatever, like not all of your sponsors, most of your sponsors are probably not going to fit into one of those where like every single list item in that tier is like going to be valuable to them. So really being flexible enough to allow sponsors to kind of pick and choose what they want out of your event. And then also providing like year-round value. A event that I think does really well at this that we've worked with is like the Guru events and Eventastic. They kind of have like a year-round like lead generation program for their sponsors. So it's not like all about that event on that specific day. And then after it, you're just kind of like an afterthought. It's like, they want to work with you to, send an email out on your behalf when it makes most sense for your company. Because I know like from us, we're like a really seasonal company. Like we have our busy seasons and our slower seasons. And sometimes an event we're sponsoring might be during our slower season. And, the leads that we get from that event might not be in their buying mode. So it's nice when an event will be like, oh, you know what? You tell us when you want like an event or an email to go out or for us to post a social post on your behalf. And you can align it when it makes most sense for you. So I think like that's really valuable for people too, is to just have that year-round benefit to actually working with your event.
We've really established a great relationship with Guru, and I think a part of that comes down to them having such great communication year-round.
Yeah, absolutely. And like there's a whole team kind of working on that for their different sponsors. I know you went to NACE recently, so did you have some experiences there?
I went to a few really awesome events this year, and I'm going to talk about some of the cool things that I saw. So hopefully some of you can take those into your 2026 events and beyond. NACE stands for the National Association for Catering and Events, and they have this big conference every year called NACE Experience, and it was in Milwaukee this year, which is exciting. And they did a lot of really cool things that I had never seen before, and I think a lot of these, all of you listening, could also take to your event. So I wanted to talk about some fun things that I took as eyes light up moments there. So I'm going to start with food because I'm going to, just expose myself here. One of my favorite things about going to events is the food. I look forward to the catered lunches every day. It's just exciting. So one of the things that I really liked at NACE Experience, which was an eyes light up moment for me, was they had a multicultural tasting experience at lunch. So we all got together into a big room. We sat at big round tables with just strangers that we've never met before. So that was a great networking opportunity. But instead of just having, any old plain catered plated meal, we actually had multi-courses from different countries. So
really cool.
We started with empanadas, which was from Lola's Empanadas in Milwaukee. And those highlighted different South American flavors. So we all passed around the plate and we took little empanadas and we were like, oh, which flavor did you get? Which flavor did you get? So that was really cool because then they actually had Lola's get up on stage and talk about their origin story and why they love making empanadas and where they learned their recipes from. So it felt like I could connect with a vendor a little bit deeper than just trying out their food. So I thought that was cool.
That's super cool.
Following the empanadas, we tried ropa vieja. We also tried bulgogi, which was really, really good. And we ended up with panna cotta at the end.
Nice.
So it was just fun to try new flavors and, talk to people at the table and say, hey, like, what'd you pick? Do you enjoy this meal? And it was a good networking opportunity than just sitting down to a plated meal.
Right, because you wanted to talk about the food with other people and the vendors, and that's really cool.
And I think attendees are very eager to experience new cultures at events. So this was a fun way to do it. You have to have people eat anyways. You might as well highlight new cultures.
That's very true. Yeah, that goes a long way. Because there's been, a lot of events I've been to just kind of have your classic, go grab a slab of chicken and a roll, and which is, fine. If it's good food, it's good food. But I think that's such a fun idea to highlight more local companies in that area too. That's really cool, especially because we NACE and a lot of the events that we go to, it's events for event planners. And then you're kind of highlighting that city and the different options that they have to share too, which is just kind of a double bonus for everybody.
That's actually a great segue into what I want to talk about next. Thanks,
awesome.
Brooke.
Didn't even
it's
plan
like you
that.
read my mind. Another thing that I really liked at NACE, which was an eyes light up moment for me, was we actually had this activity where we were going to go on a river cruise. And I'm going to talk about that next. So we'll put a pin in that for a second. But we actually took a little walking tour through Milwaukee down to the river cruise station. And instead of just having us all meet out in front of the hotel and we'll all just, saunter on down there, what NACE did is they actually hired a big brass band and we listened to the live music. The band walked in front and all of us walked in back, but it was a reimagined way of sightseeing downtown Milwaukee, listening to live music as we walked. And we walked slow. It wasn't super fast. But something that I thought was kind of sneaky and really smart was that they hired a big brass band. A lot of B words in there. So next year's, in 2026, NACE Experience is going to be in New Orleans. So that was almost like a little sneaky,
a teaser?
Yeah, a teaser. This is the vibe and the experience that you're going to feel when you come to NACE Experience in 2026.
That's a great idea.
It was great live music. It was something to listen to and chat about with people as we walked down there, but marketed the event for next year.
Yeah, which, like we were saying, that's really important because if now, those people who went to NACE are probably I really want to go to New Orleans next year. That seems like it's going to be a blast. So
when people were, taking pictures of us and they, just random strangers on the street thought that it was so fun.
Yeah, that's such a good idea. Awesome.
We also walked down to the river cruise. So a little bit of background information on that. One of the after hours activities that you could sign up for at NACE Experience was a river cruise to sightsee different, buildings along the Milwaukee River. But at the end, we got off at the Discovery World Museum. So that was kind of a fun, unexpected venue. I don't think I've ever been to an after party at a museum, but it was really fun. So this was kind of cool. I liked having the opportunity to kind of have an unexpected networking experience afterwards. So we got on this river cruise. There were snacks, there were drinks, and it was just like a fun way to chat with people and meet new people. And there was something to talk about if we're a little bit slow to start networking with people. Like, oh, that building's so pretty. Oh, I'd love to live there. That apartment is so cool. So it was just a fun way to bring new life into an after hours networking experience.
That's cool. Milwaukee's such a pretty city. It's underrated. So I'm sure that was a really cool experience. Awesome. Something I think that kind of ties together a lot of what we've already talked about is the concept of like guerrilla marketing, which has been around for a long time. I feel like when I first started as a marketer, people were talking about guerrilla marketing, which if you're not familiar with the concept, it's like doing unconventional, unexpected, creative marketing tactics. So just stuff that, not what you're used to seeing. And I think it's like we kind of shied away from that for a while as Google Analytics became like popular and we were suddenly able to do digital marketing in a way where we could see all the attribution of every single marketing like touch point that people would have. Like you could see, oh, this person came in from this source and then they opened an email and then they clicked on an ad and then they signed up for my event or they bought a product. And for a while it was like, oh, we can see everything that they do. So we're going to invest into all those different sources. And now that like attribution's a lot harder again with like AI overviews and all that stuff. And people are just kind of coming into your website, who knows how, and you don't really have that information anymore. I think it's like we're kind of going back to more like quote unquote old school ways of marketing. And I think guerrilla marketing is one of those things that's kind of come back because one thing that I thought was so funny at Inbound was, there's like this guy on Instagram and I haven't seen him in a while. I think he was like kind of went viral a little bit in like maybe 2016. And he has like sunglasses and he would stand up with like a cardboard sign that had something written in Sharpie. And it was always like a unconventional opinion or like a hot take of some sort. Like he would write like, you don't have to listen to all the band's music to wear their t-shirt or something. Just like goofy things like that.
Hot takes, yeah.
They had, I don't know if it was like him specifically, but someone was like standing outside of like Inbound every day with a sign that said some kind of
That's
like
awesome.
hot marketing take. And like tons of people would like take pictures of him and take videos, like take selfies with him. And another thing, which I'm curious your opinion on this because I have mixed feelings about this. But something else that was very funny was there was a company where there were like 20 people and they were all dressed the same and they had like picket signs. And it was like a SaaS company and all their signs said like, no, don't have webinars off your website. Like webinars should stay on your website.
Oh,
like
wow.
okay. Like, and they were like chanting, like they had, unanimous, chanting. They were out there for like hours. And it was funny. I took a video of them because it was like a goofy kind of guerrilla marketing tactic that I thought was interesting. I thought maybe a bit tone deaf. I don't know.
I could see that.
I was kind of like, oh yeah, I think we have a lot of like legitimate reasons to protest, in this world right now. And maybe it's like a little tone deaf to have a protest about webinars, but it definitely caught my attention and caught a lot of people's attention.
Were people, taking pictures with them?
I have a video of it on my phone. It was pretty funny. It was goofy. But even just like there are people outside like giving out copies of their books. Like you said, marketing people, event people, I think love to read and do professional development. So there were a lot of people just had bags where they were just handing them out for free. Some people were like signing them as they were handing them out. That was really interesting as well. One thing I think it comes back to is like getting creative that it might not be in your sponsor's best interest or in your brand's best interest to just like limit everything that they do to the trade show floor. So finding different ways to kind of tie different things in. Another thing that I thought was really interesting that I don't know if Inbound's done this before is they had like sponsored taxis or like Ubers from the airport on the day, like before Inbound started to the area where all like the hotels were, where the Moscone Center was in San Francisco. and they were free. So you could sign up ahead of time. So we got an email that was like, oh, SurveyMonkey is sponsoring Ubers. You can sign up to get a ride to your hotel. So we did that. And it was really cool. Like it was all decked out in SurveyMonkey.
Ooh, I love that.
Yeah, paraphernalia. So it was like a green car with the SurveyMonkey logo. And then when he pulled up, the driver gave us each like a moleskin notebook with the SurveyMonkey logo and a pen, which is a good idea because we're all there for, a professional development conference. It's nice to have like something to write with as a backup. And then when we got in the car, they actually had like little TV screens that were playing this like 5-minute like ad for SurveyMonkey, but it was like an activity you could do. And it was like the lady was like, oh, in the time it takes you to get to your hotel, you could create like a fully automated survey for your customers using our new AI tool. So they like encourage you to like sign up for a SurveyMonkey account and create a survey on your way to your hotel.
Oh, sneaky, but I kind of like it.
Yeah, which was a fun idea. In our case, we had a lot of traffic, so it took us, we saw that same ad spot like 30 times, but like, and I think it still like worked really well.
I like that it's convenient for the attendees because it's paid for, but it's also a fun way to interact with the SurveyMonkey brand. For sure.
And you get to like walk away with something that's SurveyMonkey branded and is actually like a helpful thing that you might use while you're at inbound. It was very unique. I thought it was a great idea. Also going along with that, while we were in the ride to the hotel, we noticed like every billboard from the hotel or from the airport to the hotel was like marketing themed in some way. It was all like different HubSpot partners. Like every single one was like AI agent this, AI agent that, which I've never noticed before at any event that I've really gone to. I'm sure that's not like an uncommon tactic, but I was like, oh, I've heard of that software. Oh, that's another. And it's also at San Francisco. So it's kind of like there's so many SaaS companies in general too. So maybe it's always like that. I don't know. But I assume it was kind of for inbound specifically. But I thought that was interesting too. Because once I noticed like 3 of them, then I was like paying attention. I was like, what's going to be the next billboard? Like, what is this company going to be?
Right.
So I thought that was interesting
creative.
too. But again, like you don't hear people talk about billboards that much anymore because it's kind of like, oh, I don't know what, like no one pays attention to billboards. It's just background noise.
You did, though.
But yeah, I paid attention to the billboards.
I'm wondering if you could even do that on a smaller scale. Not everyone has the budget to buy a billboard, but maybe you could do some signage as like a room drop for guest hotel rooms.
For sure. When, or even like maybe a sign at the airport itself. I flew back into Madison recently from, it might've been Dragon Con, but there was a sign like by baggage claim for like an event that was coming up in Madison. Like there's a lot of different ways that you can kind of incorporate that. But like if everyone at your event's going to be flying into this airport and they're going to all be taking this route to get to their hotel, like there's
might as well take advantage of it.
Yeah, there's a lot of different ways that you can kind of make sure that they see your sponsors, see your brand on the way to their hotel.
I'd feel a little special too, like, oh, that's
like, oh,
me.
this is
That's
all
for me.
They really care.
It's all about you, Brooke.
I know. It was fun. Something else, I want to talk about a couple different like activations at Inbound that I thought were kind of unique ideas. I talked about the pop-up matcha taro bar, but also last year they had like a LinkedIn sponsored coffee bar, so you could go there.
I remember it.
Yeah.
I still remember it.
I think they might have had it this year too, but I just didn't see it because it's in Boston, and I feel like I know my way around that convention center very well by now. This year it was in San Francisco, so I was a little like didn't really know where things were. But yeah, like pretty much throughout the entirety of Inbound, they would have like their LinkedIn coffee bar. You could go up there. The line was never super long.
And you didn't have to pay. I think it was sponsored,
free,
which is really nice.
There was like 6 different options, and you could get like a flavored latte. Like they had different options, and that was super nice. And I feel like it made me think of LinkedIn better.
No, I love when conferences have like a little coffee spot and you don't have to pay for the coffee, which is nice. And I know some other events I've seen do that. We'll just have a coffee company sponsor it.
Yeah.
And it's just nice to be able to have something to look forward to, or if you need a little pick-me-up in the afternoon, you know where I'm headed.
Yeah, absolutely. It's super convenient. The other thing that I thought was very funny, and I honestly don't even fully know what was going on here. But there were these guys walking around for a company that they do like content encouraging marketers to like lean into like humor in their ads and like the importance of like kind of not taking yourself too seriously. And these guys for this company were walking around with like signs that said like, ask us about our ducks, or like, have you found our ducks, or something like that. And I saw them like constantly because they were wearing like bright yellow. And from what I understood, there were like rubber ducks hidden around the Moscone Center. And if you found one, you could go to their website with like a QR code and like record which duck that you had found. And it would like give you like a prize or like some kind of specific piece of content. Which was just a fun idea. Like the idea of doing a little scavenger hunt or like encouraging people to search around for different items.
It was just completely unexpected. I'm sure you've never heard of anything like that. It was just something completely crazy out there.
Yeah, right. And then on the last day too, they had like 2 people come in that were dressed as like giant ducks.
Tied all together.
Yeah, I just saw them a couple times. I don't know like if there was a specific, I don't know, like sequence of events that led to that, but it was very funny. And I just kept seeing this company and this duck stuff over and over again. It definitely caught my attention. But it reminded me kind of like, we both went to Dragon Con recently, and obviously that's like not a corporate event. That's a very much like you go to Dragon Con because you're into different fandoms and like it's a community thing. But that's a huge thing at Dragon Con is people will hide different like trinkets and swag around the different hotels as like just a way to get people excited and get people looking around. And it feels fun when you find something. I think it doesn't matter how old you are or who you are. Like it's kind of fun to go on a little treasure hunt and look for little trinkets. So I think it's kind of fun that they like brought that into like a business conference.
I feel like that's a sneaky way to get people to move about your venue too. It's like, hey, we want to get you into the expo hall.
Right.
You not got to go to there to like collect stamps or collect ducks. Who knows?
Yeah, exactly. You got to look around. You maybe have to go to like the different corners where maybe there's a vendor who doesn't get as much traffic, but like it encourages people, to go into those areas where maybe there's not as much traffic.
Did you find a duck?
I did not find a duck. I was kind of looking, but yeah. I wish I found a duck.
Maybe next year.
I'll look harder next year.
One thing that I really liked at NACE was they did a really cool opening night party. And one thing that I think they did really well for guerrilla marketing for the city that it was in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. One thing that they did to kind of bring some whimsy to the bar was that they had Wisconsin-themed cocktails and mocktails, which was cool. So the one that I tried was a Door County Cherry Old Fashioned. So it made me appreciate some of the finer things within Wisconsin. And some people that have been here had never been to Wisconsin before. So that was an exciting thing for them to try. Not everybody makes old fashions as good as we do in Wisconsin.
That's true. They're very sweet. And I love that.
So I thought that was cool. If you have a really cool host city, why not highlight the city with a fun drink? It doesn't have to have alcohol in it. So I thought that they did a great thing with that.
Yeah.
I also wanted to highlight something that Guru has done recently. So they have the upcoming Guru email marketing conference that they do every year. I would highly recommend it. It's free if you're a marketer or you're interested in email. Highly recommend checking that out.
It's
not sponsored. Or maybe you could sponsor me, Jay Schwedelson. Just let me know.
Let us know. We're always open to it.
But this year it's going to be kind of like 90s and 2000s themes. So the way that they kind of generated some excitement for that is they have this program called Snapbar. And basically what you can do is you can take a picture of yourself and then AI will kind of auto-generate it into a 90s or a 2000s themed picture that you can post on LinkedIn. So that was something fun that I wanted to do because I wanted to see myself all AI'd up in 90s apparel.
Yeah.
And then I went to LinkedIn and they told us to, tag Guru and, use this hashtag. And I think it was a fun way to get your attendees excited about the event, but also to have them kind of do the event marketing for you because on that template, it says, attend the Guru, events that are coming up. So, and I got a lot of engagement on that because I think people just get a kick out of seeing fun AI mock-ups like that.
Well, and I think the bonus too with like Guru specifically is it's like so tied to like Jay Schwedelson as a brand. And so like you do this thing and then it's like, here's copy and paste this copy. You can put it right into LinkedIn.
It's so easy.
Yeah. And then it's like you tag Guru and then like Jay sees that, he likes your post and then it starts popping up for like a bunch of different people who follow you and who follow him. So it's like LinkedIn's kind of nice that way where like when someone with like a significant following engages with something, it'll pop up for a lot of different people. So like if you're an event planner, like encouraging anyone involved with your event who has a decent following to like do that same thing where it's like, we're going to encourage people to post about our event, link to our event on LinkedIn, and then you go like those posts and then it's going to like spread the word organically, significantly. You don't have to, like you said, like it's promoting it, like the different, everyone who participates in it is promoting it on your behalf.
Well, it just makes me feel special that your event team commented on my post.
Right.
And sometimes they'll even incentivize it. Like, hey, the first 200 people to do this thing on LinkedIn will get entered for a sweatshirt.
Yeah.
So it gets people excited.
That's true.
I love my swag.
Yeah, we love the Guru sweatshirts. I'm sure we've talked about it before, but they're the best.
I also wanted to talk about another interesting thing that I actually participated in recently, and I thought this was a cool way to generate excitement for an upcoming event. I recently worked with the National Speakers Association Wisconsin chapter, and they had this big event coming up, and they were asking, different people to do small breakout sessions in weeks coming up to the event. So it was almost like, hey, get a little taste of what our programming is going to feel like.
Yeah.
So they actually asked me to be one of the speakers for one of the small breakout sessions. So it was just fun to have that speaking experience, but it also got people to say, hey, maybe I'm not sure if I'm fully committed to this event. Let me go to this breakout session with Meaghan. I'll see kind of what the vibe is. Okay, that was really great. That was really informational. I'm definitely going to attend that conference. So I think anybody could do that, whether it's virtual or in person.
For sure. Yeah, that's such a good idea. And it like a lot of people, they want to participate in stuff like that. They would love to like get more speaking experience. So I think like finding like kind of identifying those people and giving them those opportunities, it just benefits like everyone. So
well, and this was free for members as well. So that was another, reason like, hey, you're paying to be a part of the NSA. Why don't you, take full advantage of your partnership with us and attend this event?
Absolutely. That's awesome. Something else that kind of like, again, it all kind of ties together. But when it comes to thinking outside the box, an event that we both attended that I talked about already a little bit is Dragon Con. And I think that it sounds strange, but I feel like anyone who plans any kind of event, whether it's, a corporate event or a huge, like even like a biology conference, like some kind of symposium, like anyone who plans an event can learn from these cons and take inspiration. Agree. Yeah. Cause really like, I was like kind of astounded by Dragon Con because it's such a huge event. It's 75,000 people. It's in Atlanta every year. And there are people who have been consistently going every single year, except 2020, every year for 20, 25 years. And they're like, they plan their lives around going to this event every year. And it's so interesting to me because I've been to a lot of cons before that have been pretty big. But Dragon Con really feels like a community experience. Like there are like inside jokes that carry over year that like everyone just knows about. It's like you could walk up to any person of these 75,000 people and they're just like your best friend. And there's not even really like a common theme really, because we've been to like anime conventions, everyone likes anime. Dragon Con's kind of like everything. Like you could be a fan of Lord of the Rings, you could be a fan of anime, you could be a fan of a certain book series, and like everyone, kind of fits in there. So it's so interesting to me, like how communal it feels. And I think like that feeling, that energy of the event is really what makes people want to come back every single year without fail. Cause it's like, I want to see all my friends. I want to see all the people I met last year. I want to participate in the meetups. I want to, take part in these scavenger hunts. I want to do ribbon trading. That's like a huge thing at Dragon Con. The reason why we ended up going was because badge ribbon trading is a huge thing there, and it gets all these people involved in this like fun community experience. And it was just really eye-opening to me, like how fun that was and how like it made me feel like I can't wait to go to Dragon Con next year. But you can tie that into corporate events. Like it doesn't have to just be an event just be for events that are, you know, more geared towards your passions and interests. I think you can do a lot of that stuff. So I wanted to give a couple like specific ideas of some of the things that Dragon Con did that I think are things you could easily carry into any type of event. One thing was they had really cool badge artwork. Like you saw, it's really cool. It was like a 3-eyed dragon with like a laser coming out of one of its eyes. It was really interesting. But the badge artwork was actually made by an artist on social media named Greg Mike, who has a pretty good following. He has like 300,000 followers, I think, on Instagram. So he produced the artwork, and then at the event, he was actually painting the artwork live, and you could go like watch him paint. And then once he was done painting it, they auctioned it off for charity, I believe.
Great.
Yeah, it was such a fun idea. And I think you could like even take that a step further. Like we've been working on like kind of the idea of maybe you take your badge and you can like hover your phone over it, and like that your badge kind of like comes to life, and maybe the artist who designed the badge could like talk about it and be like, oh, this is what inspired me to create this badge design, and like come to this booth if you want to like talk to me about it or see me like producing this live. Like you could do so much with your badge that way. But I think that's such a fun idea to kind of like go out of the box with badge artwork and not just make it like, oh, here's a nice little gradient with our logo and whatever. It's just, you know, a throwaway thing, but actually turned into this really cool like experience for people.
That almost ties in a little bit with what we were talking about at the beginning of this episode. It's like AI is really cool, but there's kind of like a time and place for it right now.
Yeah.
And being able to support real artists and seeing what they do and seeing it in real time is really special for some people. I know when I go to craft fairs, it's really cool to see someone actually crocheting the things that they're selling.
Yeah.
So the same thing could be said for having live artists or live art interactions at your event.
That's very, very true. And I think it's going to become more and more important because that is like a big topic, especially at cons, but I think everywhere is like making sure that the people that is real artists, that you are actually seeing them produce the artwork so you know it's real art. It's not AI generated. There was actually, I don't know if you saw this, but there was a booth at Dragon Con that was selling AI generated artwork, and they kicked them out. They were like, you got to get out of here. They just put a sign up that was like, this vendor's been removed for selling AI artwork. So it's a really big deal right now, and it's going to be kind of harder and harder to distinguish, you know, AI generated artwork from like genuine art. Not that like don't really take the opinion of like you can't use AI in your art process, but when at cons, and especially cons, there's so many artists there who have had like their artwork sourced by AI, and then like AI will generate something that looks just like their artwork, and it's just ripping them off. They didn't give permission for these like large language models to source from their artwork. They're not getting paid for it. So it's a touchy subject for sure. So yeah, like you said, I think it's more important than ever to be able to like go and actually see people creating the way that
people want to connect with people.
Yeah, exactly. And see it for real and up close. Something else I thought was so fun. So Dragon Con's a little unique in that it doesn't happen at like a convention center. There is like a convention center involved where the vendors are, but it's actually like 4 different hotels where everyone stays and where all the panels happen. So it's like the Marriott, the Hyatt, the Hilton, one other one I can't remember. And each hotel had like a room key that they were all themed. Like all 4 hotels had a themed, I think they were all like horror movie themed, it looked like.
Ooh,
and they were all like different, like primary colors. All the artwork kind of went together, but obviously you'd only get the room key for the hotel you were staying in. But people were actually like trading them because they wanted to like collect all 4.
That's kind of fun.
Yeah, and like that's such a fun idea. I've never like thought of the concept of like your room key being something that you want to like collect and trade with people. But like I saw a lot of people on social media being like, I have a Hilton, or I have 2 Hilton room keys. Does anyone want to trade a Hyatt room key with me?
That's funny.
And something really fun too that the Omni did. So the Omni's not one of the host hotels officially, but they're very close by. So a lot of people at Dragon Con stay at the Omni, and they had like separately gotten their own themed card.
So like we're going to get in on it.
Yeah. And it was so funny because it was like a piece of paper that had like a crayon drawing of a dragon on it. And then it said like wannabe host hotel or something. So
it's like you're playing into the humor.
Yeah, like playing into it. Like how fun is that? Yeah, like
yeah, it's just like another fun, unexpected touch point to get attendees excited about your event.
Right. And yeah, it was really goofy. I'd never seen anything like that before. But one of our sister companies, actually RFID Hotel, they do room keys. So if you want to look into anything like that, check them out. But yeah, such a fun idea. Another thing too, the MARTA is the Atlanta's like public transit system. And they actually had the MARTA employees giving out badge ribbons like to the attendees as they were traveling to and from like their hotels to where the convention was happening, which I thought that was so fun too. And like they said, like live long and MARTA on or something like that. Like it was like kind of a goofy,
tied in with them.
Yeah, tied in with MARTA and tied in with like the kind of geeky, nerdy theme. Just another fun way to kind of like spread the word about the con. Also for MARTA to kind of like, you know, spread their own brand.
There's so much you can do with public transit. I never really thought about that.
Yeah.
But it's like an unexpected place that you can reach attendees and get them excited.
Yeah. Really fun. Then there's just like one other thing too is like the inside joke thing. It's kind of hard to like manufacture this, obviously. Like it can't really be manufactured. It has to be kind of something that spurs out of, you know, just genuine excitement and fun. But something super unique to Dragon Con is there's like this carpet pattern that's like people go hard for this carpet pattern. Like it was the carpet of, I want to say the Marriott.
Okay.
And it's gone now. Like this hotel does not have this carpet anymore. It's like a very kind of elaborate, almost looked like a stained glass pattern. And back like 5-10 years ago at Dragon Con, everyone was like obsessed with it. They would like turn it into like t-shirt designs and all of that. And it's like lasted, like even people who didn't even go to Dragon Con back then, they're still obsessed with this carpet pattern. So you'll see people selling like plushies with that pattern weaved into it. You'll see people like talk about, cause there's like one hallway, I guess, in the hotel where you can still go see that carpet. It still exists.
Oh, so it's a destination now.
Yeah, it's like a destination.
Wow.
Like you have to go ask the employees, like, can you take me to like the secret hallway that has the carpet? And you like take pictures with it and stuff. Like that people talk about it constantly. It's just like this big thing, but it's so, I feel like it's stuff like that, like, because not everyone is into the same fandoms or the same, you know, and not everyone's in the same age group. It's like people of all ages, people from all over the place, people who like all different things, but that kind of thing that like ties that everyone remembers and thinks of fondly. Something that happened at Inbound that I thought was really funny was like Colin Jost was the nighttime entertainment. He did a stand-up special type of thing. And at one point, I can't really remember what he was talking about, but he like shouted, "They'll never take our lanyards." And, like at that moment, it's like seared in my brain. But like it would be fun if like Inbound like did something with that next year, you know, like made little pins that said like, "They'll never take our lanyards." So it's like, you know, if someone went to Inbound last year and you could like talk to them about like, you know, all the fun stuff that you did, like stuff that carries over.
Yeah, like little moments
events
that make your event stand out.
Right.
And those are the things that people remember when they think back on your event. Like, oh, that was so funny. And now they're making sweatshirts with that on it.
Right. Yeah. Like I would be all about that. I think it's awesome. Like who doesn't like an inside joke, you know?
One thing that I really liked about the opening party at NACE Experience is instead of just coming to the party and you grab a drink and you stand around and you watch some like live music. I mean, that's fun. Yeah. But something I thought that was really cool that they did is they actually had interactive stations to go around and visit throughout the event. So they had food trucks outside. It was an inside-outside menu, which if the weather's nice where your event is, I would definitely recommend. Some people wanted to be in the AC. Some people wanted to watch the sunset outside, which was cool. But they hired a whole bunch of local food trucks that came in, which was cool. So you could go up to each food truck and get a little tasting size. So that was a nice way to kind of have some dinner, but try a whole bunch of things and support local. They also had a screen printing station. So you could screen print your own t-shirt to take home. And so that was really exciting.
That's cool.
They actually had you do the screen printing. Like, okay, like here's how you put the paint on.
So cool.
Here's how you take the brush on the shirt. So I felt more involved with that activity. Yeah. So I just like having the idea of an interactive layout for sure. After parties or opening parties, which is cool. And the last thing that I wanted to highlight as far as something cool that NACE did is, I've never seen this before, but they had optional dress-up themes for each night. And this is how they handled it. So they made Pinterest boards of like, okay, here's the vibe of what we're kind of looking for the dress-up theme. So for the opening party, wear bright neon colors. Here's some ideas. For the cruise that we're going to take, wear some nautical clothes, like something you'd wear on like a yacht, which was really fun.
Yeah.
And then the last one, they had a little award ceremony. It's like, here's some ideas for a black tie outfit that you could wear. And they were completely optional, but a ton of people wanted to participate in that because you wanted to show up to the party and feel like you fit the vibe. And a lot of the dress up themes that they've picked, you didn't have to go out and buy a costume for it. It's just something that you had around the house.
Yeah.
So it was just a way to add a little bit of whimsy to dressing up for activities.
I would love that. I would absolutely participate.
It was fun. Nicole and I were comparing our outfits, like, oh, what are you going to wear on the cruise? It felt fun.
I love the Pinterest board idea too, then, because you can look and be like, this is okay. I'm not going to look weird if I like, do this up a little bit. Like,
and they just sent those links out in the pre-event communication emails.
Yeah.
So it's something for you to interact with and get excited about.
That's super fun. I love like a theme where I can dress up. I think.
Don't we all?
Yeah, exactly. So do more of that. I think people should do more of that. That's so cool. The last thing that I kind of want to talk about is the idea of letting attendees create their own spaces. We kind of talked about it with like the brain dates, like have people talk about what they're interested in ahead of time so that they can go and meet people who they already know are kind of on the same page as them, in the same boat. Something else I think that was really fun at Dragon Con, they have so many different meetups for like different interests. And one thing that we went to was like a ribbon trading event. So like people gathered in this ballroom at a specific time and you could bring a bunch of different badge ribbons down there and like trade ribbons and see how many you could collect. And there were like hundreds of people there just like handing out ribbons.
It's big.
Yeah, having so much fun with it. And again, I think like that's something that corporate events can kind of weave into their own events as well. Something that Inbound did that was kind of similar is like they had the badges where you can like click and connect people with people. And so there were different like, I guess, achievements that you could unlock based on, I clicked or connected with like 10 different people.
Gamify it a little bit.
Yeah. Or like I like filled out a survey after like 5 different sessions, or I went to 5 different sessions about this specific topic. And then you could like go and they would give you like a little, I think it was a pin that was like, you get the connector badge because you connected with 10 people, or you get the AI savant badge because you went to 5 different sessions about AI. But like people like doing that. I think that's another thing we saw at Dragon Con was like everyone wanted
Trinkets.
they wanted to collect trinkets and they wanted to like do quests. Like they wanted to like go on a little adventure and go find something or do something to like win a trinket or something like that. And again, I think that's just like a human experience. I don't think that that's unique to people at cons. I think that everyone wants to do that. So I think there's a lot of ways that you can weave that into any event for sure. You said NACE had some interesting ways too to a relaxation lounge.
Yeah, I have seen kind of like cool down relaxation lounges, but NACE did a really great job with theirs. So they had, I don't know if you've ever seen this, but there's these oxygen bars and you kind of wear like a little like cannula on your nose and you can breathe in some essential oils, which was cool. So they just had a little oxygen bar. I think it might be cool to have maybe like chair massages. You could always have some massage therapists come in and take a little 5-minute break, and or maybe you play with some fidgets or just sit in some lower lighting, which is nice because sometimes conferences can be a little overstimulating for some people. So it's nice to just have a little breathing time. So I thought that was really cool. And I think that's something that any event could have. Another cool thing that I wanted to highlight is at lunch, they had these DE&I bingo cards. So let's say you don't know anyone at the conference. I don't, know what to talk about with these strangers that I sit with at lunch. You could grab these little bingo cards and each square had a little question that you could discuss with your table about different DE&I topics. So if you try to get your own bingo or just pick one from each line, I think that was a cool way to get people talking about an important topic, but also have a kind of like a cheater way to, start talking with people.
For
and,
sure.
I know I got a lot out of my conversations with the people at my table. And I think if you got your own bingo, it was kind of like a I trust you kind of thing. If you got your own bingo, you could write your name and your email on it and you get entered to win a prize at the end.
Nice. That's awesome. I love that.
Last thing I wanted to highlight for kind of, making people feel more included at events is something that Content Marketing World did last year that I really liked is if you came alone to the conference and you didn't have anyone to eat dinner with, they had little preset dinner reservations at local restaurants in the area. So you could just sign up for the meal train. You'd all walk down together and you had someone to eat with. So that's important to me. It's like, no one should be sitting in their hotel room at night just doing nothing. So it's a good way to get people connected with people maybe they hadn't chatted with before and make people feel less alone.
For sure. I know. We know a lot of people go to events just on their own. So that, I think is a huge benefit for the people who are soloing it, for sure. Awesome. I think these have been some great ideas. And I think they all come down to, like we talked about, how do you make your event an event that people want to go to year after year? It's more important than ever. People's, again, like we know the state of the economy and the state of people's budgets right now. It's not the best situation necessarily. Some are better off than others, but it's important to not think of your event just as like this thing that has to drive revenue, that every single metric has to be like super obvious, like written down in an Excel spreadsheet, but how do you actually get people's eyes to light up? How do you get people to talk about your event, to share about your event on social media, to encourage their friends and colleagues to go to your event so that they just want to be there every single year and they don't want to miss out on what's going to happen next year. They don't want to miss out on hanging out with the friends that they made last year. Maybe they just get to see them once a year. And that's like the one time that they all come together from different states and different places. I think there's so much that we can learn from some of these larger events, some events that might not be in the industry that you're in, but you can still kind of take inspiration from them. So that's what matters, is like the connections and the moments that can't be replicated through AI or through.
And that's what people remember when they think back on your event.
Yeah, exactly. And stuff that like can't necessarily be replicated through like on-demand content. Like obviously that's always a nice to have for people to be able to watch content afterwards if they couldn't make it in person. But how can you make the in-person experience that much more special? And how can you use AI as a tool for efficiency and helping people build connections, not generating the content itself? So if you've seen, anyone out there, any listeners have seen some really cool ideas at an event that you went to recently, tell us about it. You can email us. You can message us on Instagram too. It's just the PC Nametake Instagram, but you can also email us at EventConnection@PCNametake.com, and we'd love to talk about it. I feel like we could make it like a recurring segment where we talk about the cool different event ideas that we've heard every time we do an episode. So yeah, let us know if you've been seeing anything awesome, and we'll be pumped for 2026 and implement all these awesome ideas.